Chris Fletcher's daughter, Lexi McCullum, is finally speaking out and sharing her side of the story on YouTube. She is giving fans a closer look at the family problems that have been going on for a long time in Love and Marriage, Huntsville. People who watch the show may remember how Chris Fletcher and his children had a difficult relationship. This became clear during a family dinner scene a few seasons ago. That moment showed that there were deep problems in the family that had never been solved. There were many unspoken feelings growing inside the family. Nell, who looked very upset, found it hard to bring everyone together. But the biggest problem seemed to be between her and Lexi. Lexi, who is Chris's daughter from his first marriage, spoke openly about her childhood. She shared that she felt she had been treated differently than her siblings. This led to a heated argument at the dinner table. The talk became very emotional, bringing out deep feelings and past pain that had never been healed. The problems in the family had been growing for many years. Now, Lexi has decided to speak on YouTube and share her side of the story. She is talking about her experiences, her relationship with her father and stepmother, and how those past struggles have shaped the way she feels today. As Lexi speaks her truth, fans are excited to know more about what really happened behind closed doors and how the family is changing with time. Sometime after the big family dinner scene on Love and Marriage, Huntsville, Lexi McCullum went to social media to share her thoughts. Lexi McCullum surprised everyone when she went on social media and made a serious claim about her stepmother, Nell Fletcher. In a series of posts, Lexi said that Nell had been involved with her father, Chris Fletcher, while he was still married to her mother. This claim added even more drama to the already tense family situation. Fans started talking about Chris and Nell's past, asking questions about their relationship. Lexi's words spread quickly, and viewers of the show began to discuss and guess what might have really happened behind the scenes. In the beginning, Chris and Nell did not say anything about what Lexi claimed. But her words made many people believe that the family had bigger problems than what was shown on television. Fans started watching old episodes again, looking for clues to see if Lexi's story was true or not. Recently, Lexi gave an update and said she would share her full story on YouTube. She promised to tell everything in a series of chapters. She said this series would take a deep look into her experiences and the truth about her family's past. Lexi shared that she will talk about her experiences growing up, her relationship with her father, and the struggles she faced with Nell over the years. She also mentioned that she will discuss not only her childhood, but also the events that caused her to become distant from some family members. With this announcement, fans and followers are excited to hear her side of the story directly from her. Because her claims are sensitive and there has been tension in the Fletcher family for a long time, many people are curious about what more Lexi will reveal and how it will change the way they see the family. It is not clear yet if Lexi's revelations will cause more problems or finally bring some peace to their complicated past. But one thing is certain, her decision to speak out shows that she is ready to share her truth, no matter the outcome. In the first chapter of her highly awaited YouTube series, Lexi McCullum talked about the complicated relationship she has with her stepmother, Nell Fletcher. She started by saying that, in the beginning, things between them were pretty good. According to Lexi, their relationship was smooth during those early years. When Lexi was a young child, she did not feel any anger or bad feelings from Nell. Everything seemed fine at first. However, when Lexi turned around 10 years old, things began to change. This change marked the start of the tension that would later shape their relationship. At first, Lexi did not understand why Nell's attitude towards her changed so much. The warmth she once felt from her stepmother seemed to disappear, and it was replaced by what Lexi called coldness and distance. As Lexi grew older, she started to understand what had happened. Lexi started to believe that her father, Chris Fletcher's, cheating might have been a big reason for the change she noticed. She suggested that after Nell found out about Chris being unfaithful, her attitude toward Lexi and the rest of the family became different. One of the most shocking things Lexi said in this first chapter was that there was a time when Chris supposedly left Nell and their family to be with another woman. Although Lexi did not give details about when this happened or who the other woman was, she hinted that this event had a major impact on the family. This event deeply affected Nell, changing the way she interacted with everyone, including Lexi. This new information added even more layers to the already complicated story of the Fletcher family. Fans who had been following their story on love and marriage, Huntsville now had even more questions. Did Chris really cheat during his marriage to Nell? If he did that betrayal cause hurt that later affected his children? And most importantly, how did these events shape the way the family behaved with each other over the years? The way Lexi was treated in the family has become a big topic. By choosing to speak out so openly, it seems that Lexi is no longer holding anything back. As she keeps sharing more chapters of her story, viewers are excited to hear what other truths she may reveal. Many people wonder if her story will make Nell or Chris respond, or if they will stay silent. Either way, Lexi's claims have started a new conversation about love, betrayal, and family in the world of reality television. Lexi McCullum shared a very emotional and difficult time in her life when she struggled to stay in touch with her father, Chris Fletcher. She remembered a time in her childhood when her father and stepmother, Nell Fletcher, were moving from Atlanta to Harvest, Alabama. While she could not remember exactly how old she was, Lexi clearly felt a lot of frustration and sadness because she could not get in touch with her father. She talked about how hard that time in her life had been for her. For a long time, Lexi kept trying to reach her father, Chris, but each time, something got in the way. Whenever she called his number, Nell would be the one to answer the phone. She remembered trying many times, hoping that this time she would finally hear her father's voice. However, each time, she received an excuse. Nell always had a reason why Chris could not come to the phone, whether he was busy, out of the house, or just unable to answer. No matter how many times Lexi called, she could never get through to him. The same thing kept happening, and it made Lexi feel helpless and disconnected. It was not just Lexi who faced this problem. Her mother also had the same difficulties when trying to help Lexi talk to her father. Lexi explained that her mother would call for her, trying to make sure Lexi could reach her father. But every time, the result was the same. Her mother would hear the same excuses, and Lexi would be left waiting for a conversation that never came. Lexi explained how hurtful and lonely this experience felt for her as a child. She felt that being kept away from her father in this way had a long-lasting effect on their relationship, making the emotional gap between them even wider. She wondered if Nell had something to do with keeping Chris away from her, or if there were other reasons why he was never around during that time. No matter the reason, Lexi said that those moments made her feel like she had been pushed aside, as if her place in her father's life did not matter. As Lexi shared this part of her story, viewers could not help but feel her pain. Many who had followed the Fletcher family's journey on love and marriage Huntsville now understood better why Lexi felt so far away from Chris and why the tensions between her and Nell had grown over time. The deep hurt of feeling abandoned by a parent is something that many people can relate to, and Lexi's honest words connected with those who had faced similar struggles. With each new chapter of her story, Lexi gives more insight into the events that shaped her family, leaving many curious about what other truths she might share. Will Chris respond to her claims? Will Nell speak up about her part in the situation? As Lexi continues to open up, it becomes clear that her journey to find peace is still far from finished. As Lexi McCullum talks more about the painful memories from her childhood, she revealed another shocking detail. Lexi shared why her father, Chris Fletcher, had been so distant during an important time in her life. For years, she wondered why he never answered her calls, why she always had to go through her stepmother, Nell Fletcher, just to reach him, and why he seemed unavailable all the time. The excuses she got never made sense, and deep down, she felt there was more to the story. It was only when she was around 17 or 18 years old that she finally found out the truth, and it came as a big surprise. Lexi explained that she learned the truth directly from Nell. Nell finally told her the real reason why Chris had been so hard to reach during that time. She said that Chris had actually left their family for another woman and her children. This news was very painful for Lexi and for everyone involved. Lexi remembered feeling shocked, disappointed, and sad. Although she had always felt something was wrong, hearing the truth that her father had decided to leave his family was very difficult for her. Finding out that her father left their family for another woman was a painful shock. It helped Lexi understand why her relationship with Nell became more difficult as she grew older. While it hurt her, Lexi also started to see how hard the situation must have been for Nell. Even though their relationship had become strained, Lexi realized that Nell had to deal with everything after Chris left. Being left by a spouse is already hard, but to be left for someone else makes it even worse. Lexi said that, looking back, she could understand why Nell had such a hard time during that period. It made sense why Nell became more distant, frustrated, and maybe even angry. But even with this understanding, Lexi could not ignore the feeling of betrayal she had deep inside. She spent much of her childhood wondering why her father was never there, why he never put her first, and why every time she tried to talk to him, she got no answer. Finding out that he had left, and left for someone else, made everything even harder for her to accept. As Lexi shared how her father seemed to focus all his attention on a new family, it made her pain even deeper. By being so open about her feelings, she connected with viewers who had been following her story. Many people could understand the sadness of feeling like a parent had chosen someone else over them. Others thought about the hurt that Nell must have felt, realizing that maybe her cold behavior toward Lexi came from her own pain. With every part of her story, Lexi made it clear just how real and relatable her journey was. Lexi shared the painful and complicated story of the Fletcher family, which left fans of Love and Marriage Huntsville wondering how Chris would react. Would he answer to his daughter's claims or stay quiet? Would Nell speak up and tell her side? And, most importantly, would Lexi ever find the closure she was looking for? One thing was clear: by opening up and sharing her personal experiences, Lexi started important conversations about family abandonment and the lasting impact of broken relationships. As promised, more chapters of her story were on the way. In the chapters to come, Lexi promised to share more, and viewers were eager to see what new truths would come out. Despite all the challenges in their relationship, Lexi has said that she feels some sympathy for her stepmother, Nell Fletcher. Even though their relationship has had a lot of tension, and Lexi has felt angry at Nell at times in her life, she now understands that there were more complicated reasons behind things that she could not see when she was younger. One of the biggest reasons for the problems between them was, growing up, Lexi felt frustrated and confused because it seemed like Nell was keeping her away from her father, Chris Fletcher. As a young girl, Lexi could not understand why every time she tried to contact him, she had to go through Nell. No matter how many times she tried, she could not reach her father. At the time, without anyone explaining why, Lexi thought that Nell was the reason for the distance between her and her father. This belief made Lexi feel hurt and confused. Lexi began to feel anger toward her stepmother. She kept asking herself, why won't she let me talk to him? Where is he? Why is she always the one answering when I call? Not hearing from her father made her even more upset. Then, one day, out of the blue, Chris called her. This was the moment she had been waiting for, but instead of feeling happy, she felt confused. He did not explain why he had been absent. He just told her she could come visit him. By then, everything felt different to Lexi. Chris and Nell were living in Harvest, Alabama when Lexi got an unexpected call from her father. The suddenness of the call and the way he returned without giving any reasons for his absence left Lexi feeling even more confused. She could not understand why he had been so far away for so long, only to contact her as if nothing had happened. Even though she felt happy to finally hear from him, it did not take away the years of uncertainty and frustration she had experienced. On top of this, there was another problem with money, which made the already strained relationship between Lexi and Nell even more difficult. Lexi shared that it was not Chris who paid the child support, it was actually Nell. This made their family situation even more complicated. Lexi remembered that whenever she visited and asked for something, Nell would often say no. But what really stuck with her was the reason Nell gave. She said that if Lexi needed anything, she should ask her mother to use the child support money to get it. Hearing that as a child hurt Lexi deeply, and it made her feel even more distant from both her father and stepmother. At the time, Lexi felt deeply confused and hurt. She did not fully understand the financial problems or emotional struggles that Nell was facing, but what she did understand was the pain of being turned away. Whether Nell truly resented her, or if it was just because of the tough situation, Lexi grew up feeling like an outsider, both emotionally and financially. Now, looking back, Lexi realizes that things were more complicated than she understood as a child. While she once saw Nell as the villain in her story, she now sees that the situation was much more complicated than she thought. Lexi has learned a lot from looking back at her past, especially when it comes to her relationship with Nell. While growing up, Lexi felt hurt and confused, often thinking that Nell was the one keeping her away from her father. It seemed like no matter what, when Lexi tried to reach out to Chris, Nell was always the one on the other end of the phone, with no real answers. Lexi thought Nell was the reason for the distance, and this made her feel rejected and lonely. As Lexi got older, she found out more about the struggles Nell faced. She learned that Nell had been dealing with a lot of pain of her own, and that maybe Nell's actions were shaped by her own emotional challenges.